Hi, everyone. Welcome to week 7. We're in the home stretch here. Last week, we talked about behavioral psychology and how different kinds of cognitive biases or heuristics drive donor decision making. This week, we get to think about what kind of biases or heuristics drive our own decisions as fundraisers. Here's just a quick example of that. One time I was working with a volunteer and we were approaching a wealthy donor who had made it in an male dominated profession. And so my volunteer naturally talked about supporting programs for women in this profession. And the next time the donor and I met, the donor pulled me aside and said, no offense, but I'm just not interested in women in this industry as a target for my support. I know I am a woman in the industry, but it's not what I'm concerned about as a philanthropist. And so we found many other things for this person to get involved in, and it worked out fine. But it's just an example of how sometimes we bring assumptions about people to the table, and we have to revisit them. Now, sometimes our thought patterns are kind of negative thought patterns about ourselves or our ability as fundraisers. A few weeks ago, many of you discussed the fear of getting a no. And so sometimes that can actually prevent us from even asking, right? If we're just too terrified about what that might mean. But when you do fundraising, you start to realize that it's not often that you're just going to get a complete no or that you're going to really offend someone. More likely, they're going to say, that's not the right amount for me, or I can't do it right now, or I'm interested in another topic area like this donor did that I just told you about. And so you learn it's really not so bad and not as scary as you might have imagined once you actually go through it. So this week we're going to unpack all of that kind of stuff, and we're learning how to play what Tim Galway calls the inner game of fundraising. Now he wrote a book called The Inner Game of Tennis, and that was really about getting out of your own way by stopping focusing on only mechanical things like move your arm this way or step forward when you swing or whatever it may be, and just kind of letting your body kind of follow through and do what it knows how to do. Now, in fundraising, it's a little different because we need to practice those skills. We may not automatically know what skills we need to use as a fundraiser. That's why I talk about flying an aircraft quite often when I'm teaching fundraising, because it's more like that, where you really need to know a lot of technical things about how to get through a conversation. So it's learning in that regard, and that's really what playing the inner game involves. So let me give you an example of that. One thing I'm not so crazy about is making small talk. Okay, a lot of introverts say that as well. And I posted a TED talk that I did a few years ago for you that helps give you concrete examples of how you might make small talk or schmooze with somebody. And so let me give you an example of that. So just today, I had to go to a networking event with people that I didn't know very well. So I was like, well, let me just see if I can use my own advice to make this work. So I thought of a few topics I could make small talk about before I got there. I knew that the host had recently added an addition onto their house, so I had it in my head, oh, to say, oh, this looks great, I love it, blah, blah, talk about that. And as it happened, I got to the event, host said hello right away. And then I found someone I knew, surprise, surprise, and was able to talk to that person for a while and then see some other folks I knew, and it all worked out. But the point is that because I had those ideas in my head of what I might talk about if I didn't have anything else, I was able to go to the event, have a successful time. So those are the kind of things that we're going to talk about is that skill building for those little pieces of the conversation that you're going to have. And it does become automatic after a while. So you may not have to think about it as overtly, but it's really good when you're just starting out to kind of think about all these things and the exact kinds of ways you would like a conversation to evolve when you're just getting started. So that's what's on deck. One last thing I want to leave you with, of course, at the end of the day, it's the other person's decision about how involved they're going to get with your organization. So you can't control the result, right? You can only do your best. So try to find some fun, some joy, even in the interaction that you have with the person you're sitting across the table from. Maybe find something that you laugh over or bond over. And I'll close with this analogy. I often go for bike rides, because I like to keep in shape and everything. And even though you're really tired at the end of a long bike ride, there's at least one moment when I'm on the bike and I'm riding downhill or something, going really fast, and have a really good time. And at that instant, I like to just kind of go, "Oh, this is really fun." That's the joy for that bike ride. And so I guarantee that if you look for it, you will find these small moments of joy within your fundraising practice, and that's the best part about it. So I'll leave you with that. Have a great week, everyone, and we will see you next week.